Hey, happy Wednesday, Dilettanters, and so this week's topic is religion and philosophy, which is something I've been looking forward to, because religion and philosophy is one of the subjects I do best in, and something I'm going to do at college, and so I have an interest in it outside of school as well as in curriculum. I think Jenna pretty much hit the nail on the head about Genesis and creationism with her video on Monday, which is brilliant. So I will just sort of talk of a mishmash of different bits of religion which I find interesting and my personal views and why, and sort of how they relate to the spectrum of thinking about God and religion and stuff like that in general. So I'll try and do sort of almost a midweek summary, if you will, of just everything that I can think of that's relevant to the topic. So I'll start with my personal views. I am an atheist and I'm a secular humanist, which basically means I don't believe in a god, but I don't actively go against religion and I don't try and disprove God, if you will. I understand scientific theory and I believe that scientific theory is the right answer, but I don't have a problem if somebody wants to be religious, because there's no reason why I should do. I'm not one of those atheists like Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins that tries to actively say that religion is a bad thing and to try and disprove it. Although I will say that obviously some of it is bad, but a lot of the time that's very far from the actual religion. I really like Islam and I think it's a really good religion when you actually look at what it's about and when you look at the everyday people who practice it. And what it says in the Quran about love and respecting of religions. It says in the Quran that you should have respect for other religions and other ways of life, and that's fantastic. Built into that religion is a way to let it get on with everyone else in the world while holding its own ideas, and that's fantastic. That's what all religions should do. But there's some people who take it way out of context and they amalgamate it and they make it nothing like it actually is, and then you get the suicide bombers and the jihadists and only people that those are the only Muslims that a lot of people know about. And they get awful press, of course, because they kill people. And so Muslims are sold to us as this terrifying religion of evil people who want to blow you up so they can get into heaven. And there's this myth that in paradise you'll get 72 virgins and a house made of gold or something like that. But that isn't true. That was in a hadith. And a hadith, as I think John Green explained it best, that it's like something that somebody may have heard from somebody who heard it from Muhammad maybe. And that is sort of way out. That's not in the Quran. That's just sort of like a supplement, if you will. Just sort of like an add-on. And the thing, I'll talk about suicide bombing because there's so many misconceptions. But it comes from Jihad, which is Arabic for struggle. And basically when you're a Muslim there are two types of jihad. There's the lesser jihad, which is physical struggle, and there's greater jihad, which is a mental struggle. Now greater jihad is being a Muslim in a world of science and maths and other religions and war and famine and things like that. It's the spiritual struggle that you have. Muslims and Arabic countries were at the forefront in the Middle Ages of scientific and mathematical discovery. They were very much concerned with exploring parts of the universe and figuring things out, and that brought them closer to God, which was fantastic. It helped them and it helped us. We wouldn't be where we were if it wasn't for the Middle Ages, where we were essentially rolling around in the dirt killing each other, and they were off figuring things out, and that was fantastic. And it's some of the pillars of our modern community and our civilization, which is great. But part of that, obviously, is when you're studying science, although you can say it brings you closer to the God, it's going to present alternative ideas. Like Charles Darwin, the reason he was on the HMS Beagle and the reason he got to go out and do his experiments and his observations was because the captain of the ship, I can't remember his name, was so impressed by his zeal and his rigour for his God. And he was like, wow, I want this man on board, because he was a good Christian fellow, and so he was like, oh cool, I'll bring this person along and he will do whatever he does. I'm sure it was the zoology or whatever. And then he started writing his theory and he started writing these observations, and from it came the theory of evolution, but he was completely hated for it, and he was told that he'd killed God, and so that was terrible for him. But yeah, that's basically what greater jihad is, going off on a Darwin tangent. I'm sure you won't mind. Lesser jihad is a very physical, very real struggle, and it's a defence. It's not a form of attack. It's so you can defend yourself and your religion and your right to pray from attack. So if somebody invades your country, then you can fight back, but you don't aggress. It's a defense. It's not for going out and killing infidels or whatever you're told it means. It's actually just for telling people, stopping people from ransacking churches and the people you love and your villages and things like that. So it's an inbuilt defense mechanism within the religion to get on in the world, because of course they don't want you to go out killing people, but they don't want Islam to end, and they don't want it to spread by the sword either. So built into the Quran are these safety nets, but they can be abused very easily, because it's very easy to take something out of it without the context of the rest of the book. Like, you could take snippets of a sentence and you could teach somebody something, and it would be wrong, and it could be used to set up things like these suicide bombings, which is what happens. I saw a video from a TED talk that somebody did, and it was of, she managed to get inside these camps, and they take children away from parents who can't take them. They've got like 7 other kids, and they take them away, and they spend their entire life on these camps, and all they know is the Quran, but it's taken out of context and it's misquoted, and that's all they're ever told, and then they get their parents' permission and they go off and they do suicide bombings, and it's awful. And that is not Islam. Islam is Arabic for peace. That is not what it means, and that is when I don't like religion, when people take it out of context and they don't use it for what it actually is. But religion can be great, it can really help people, and we wouldn't be where we are now if it wasn't for religion. And some fantastic people are religious, and that's just how it works. It's just a thing, and it's part of humanity, and I think it will be for a very long time. I think we'll always have some essence of spirituality with us, even if it's not like Christianity or theism. I think there'll always be something to us as a race, no matter how far into scientific inquiry as we go. Now, there's the argument, there's people who try to say that you shouldn't believe in religion, or you shouldn't believe in a God simply because there's scientific truth. And I don't think that's not what religion is about. The people who believe in God do not believe in God, apart from probably a couple who are not the brightest sparks, but they don't believe in God because they open the Bible and say, well, it says here that he created the world, so that's right, so that's why I'm going to obey him. That's not what it's about. The people who believe in God are because they either have a feeling that there's a God, or they've had some personal experience, or because he means something to them, or because he can help them. And religion can help you. It can give people a guidance in life and a path to walk on. And it's very good when it comes to that. It's very good for building communities and giving people who don't have a purpose. And it means that some people who would have strayed from the path that most of us walk on would have gone off somewhere else and done something bad, and it also gives consequence to bad actions to those who can't understand them normally. Like, I have a sense of morals. I know I have a vague idea of what's right and wrong, and I live by those, but some people don't understand them properly, and so they would say, well, I can kill a man, and I can steal something, and I can commit adultery, and I can't see anything that's wrong with that. And then they would have no punishment save earthly punishment, which isn't that bad, to be fair. And they would just live their lives, and it would be chaos. It would be absolute turmoil, and that's one of the theories of the origins of religion, is something to keep man in check and to keep man on the straight path. And that's a decent idea. But some people need that extra push, that heaven and hell, that eternal reward or eternal suffering to keep them going. And that's fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that. But I understand, that it's just part of being a human being, and part of being a good human being is having a good sense of right and wrong, and I don't need religions for that, and I have no trouble with the fact that I'm going to die one day, and I have ideas of where we come from, but it doesn't bother me that much, because all that I am concerned with is what is directly near me, the people in my life, and just being a good person, and just going about day to day, and with the origins that science gives me, and the explanations of things that science gives me, and just secular life. I am fine with that. But some people need religion, and that's what it's there for. And so I don't have a problem with it, but it's good for some people. And so that's my stance on religion. I think it's cool, it can be great, but it's not for me. But I don't think it's anyone's place to try and unroot somebody from faith unless it's really going to help them, or to prevent it from hurting other people. I hope I have explained some things and help some people to understand some things. So, I'll leave it at that, and if you have any questions, about stuff, because I know quite a bit about religion and philosophy. But ask me, I'll put a link to my email down below, and you can ask me via YouTube if you want, and I will try and answer your questions, and it'll be nice to talk to you about it. So, DFTBA, Zoe, I'll see you tomorrow.